Hi, my name is Terry Bates. I am the director of the Cornell Lake Erie Research and Extension Lab, and I do the viticulture research here in the Lake Erie region. So today's podcast is going to be about crop estimation. We were discussing this morning in the office. It's getting to be that time of year where we want to get out into the vineyard, do crop estimates. So what does that mean? You know, I'm a grower. I have 100 acres of grapes, and I want to know how many grapes are hanging there in the vineyard. And then be able to adjust, if necessary, that level of grapes so that I know I can get the fruit ripe at the end of the season. So for various reasons, people want to know more accurate crop estimates, everything from the grower wanting to know what crop that is out there for biological balance within the vineyard, to the processors who want to know how many grapes are hanging across the industry, which helps them with logistics on tank space or the equipment that they're going to need during harvest or when harvest is going to be. So in the Lake Erie region here, we do a lot of crop estimation at 30 days after bloom. So why do we do that? Traditionally, crop estimation is about estimating the components of yield. So the components of yield are the number of shoots that are on the vine, the number of clusters that are on those shoots, the number of berries that are on the clusters, and then the fresh berry weight. So traditionally, all those different components of yield are measured and measured manually. There's people go out and they select vines in their vineyards and they flag those vines and they measure those components. And one of the big problems with that is that every time a human goes out and takes a measurement, they're adding error to that measurement. And so that throws their estimate off. So one of the things we try to do through our research is try to minimize that error in measurement. The second thing that has a big impact is, and what we're finding with our precision agriculture project, is that the vineyards vary spatially throughout. So from one end of the vineyard to the other, those components of yield will change. You know, shoots per vine will change, or the cluster size will change, or the berry weight will change from one end of the vineyard to the next. How can we try to capture that and try to minimize that environmental error? So you have measurement error and you have environmental error. Okay, so the first way that we've tackled this is, instead of measuring all the different components of yield, we go out in the vineyard at 30 days after bloom and we clean pick fruit with a harvester. So we get rid of all the measurement error associated with counting shoots per vine, clusters per shoot, and berries per cluster, right? We just go out. Typically, we pick 1% of an acre for a sample region, and we clean pick that with a harvester, and we weigh the fruit. And so that's the fruit that's there. And then we project out what would that fruit weigh at harvest time. And we do that by projecting out what the berry curve is. And in grapes, and in Concord grapes here specifically, is we look at the fresh berry weight curve of Concord. So we know at particular times in the season, the berry weight is some percent of final. Rule of thumb for us is that we do our crop estimation 30 days after bloom, and the berries are 50% of their final weight. So if I have a 1.5 gram berry now, I project out for a 3 gram berry harvest weight. So whatever I clean pick in that 1% of an acre, I double that weight, and that's what I'm going to project to have at harvest. And so not everyone does it at 30 days after bloom, so we look at the berry weight curve throughout the season so we could do that crop estimation at different times of the season. To make this chart a little bit easier to use in the field, we've taken the numbers from this and we've made a table that a grower carries in the vineyard with them. So they're on their harvester, they clean pick the fruit in 1% of the acre, they look over on the chart and it tells them how many tons per acre they have at harvest. Then they can make a decision on whether they want to hang that crop or if they want to take it down. As far as accuracy in this, we're talking about telling a grower, I have 5-6 tons per acre, 7-8 tons per acre, 9-10 tons per acre. It doesn't tell you the difference between, say, a 9 and a 9.2 ton per acre vineyard, right? We're getting closer to a more accurate crop estimate. So probably somewhere in the 15 to 20% range, it'll get you down to. And when we talk about average berries, it's an average. So you can't just go pick one berry off of a cluster and then say, oh, that's what my berry weight is. When you pick a whole vine at that time of the season and you randomly pick berries, you're going to get a whole wide range of berry weights because they bloomed at different times. So we're taking an average berry weight. And again, that adds a little bit of error to our estimate. Okay, so finally, we start to take a look at how the vineyard varies from one end to the next. So this is an NDVI map of a commercial vineyard. And we know that the vines are weak or weaker growth in the red areas and stronger growth in the blue areas. Okay, the components of yield from one region to the next are going to change. Shoots per vine, berries per cluster. Berry weight will change. We're trying to look at what kind of spatial data we can collect to reflect that. Do I know that I have smaller berries in the red region and bigger berries in the blue region? And how do I put that into our crop estimate? Also, from a sampling perspective, we know we want to have so many samples in the red, so many in the green, so many in the blue, and be able to do a weighted crop estimate back from that. All of this is in an effort to try to get a more accurate final harvest weight in the middle of the season, and then maybe be able to do something about it through fruit thinning. So that's crop estimation in a nutshell, the way we do it here in Concord. So we go out at 30 days after bloom, we clean pick samples, we weigh that fruit based on the berry curve, we project out what the final weight is going to be. We try to stratify our samples based on the pattern we see in the vineyard and give a weighted estimate based on that pattern to get us even closer. So our hope or our goal is to be within 5% of the actual harvest weight when it comes harvest. And we validate this against, we have harvesters now that have yield monitors on them. We validate that against truck weights that go into the processing plant. So we can check to see if our estimate is really within 5% of that actual harvest weight. If you ever have any questions or comments about any of the blogs, you can click on the link below or leave a message. Thanks.